It all started one winter night. I live in a small house at the edge of town, right next to a line of woods. I bought it 3 years ago after college. It's quiet, peaceful, and isolated. The only thing I don't like are the windows. There are too many of them, and they all face the trees. I never thought that would be a problem until last January. That's when I saw the face in my window. I was half asleep on the couch, watching some random show, when my phone buzzed. I sighed, got up, and went to lock the back door. That's when I noticed something move in the reflection of the glass. Just a flicker. I turned around. Nothing. It was pitch dark outside. I told myself it was just my reflection, locked the door, and went to bed. 2 nights later, I woke up to a sound. It was faint, but steady. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought it was the wind or the trees brushing against the wall. Then I realized it was coming from my bedroom window. I sat up, my heart pounding, listening. The tapping came again, slower this time. I whispered, "Hello?" But there was no answer, just silence, and one more tap. I froze. After a few minutes, I pulled back the curtain. Nothing, just darkness. I didn't sleep after that. A few days passed. One night, I was on the phone with my friend David, telling him about the noises. He laughed, said maybe I had a raccoon or something. I laughed too, just to keep conversation light. Then I turned toward the kitchen window and froze. There was a face pressed against the glass. White, expressionless, eyes wide open, skin stretched tight. It didn't blink, just stared. I dropped my phone, and when I looked back, it was gone. I thought maybe I was losing my mind, but I had to know if something was really there, so I set up a webcam facing that window. That night, nothing unusual, but the next morning when I checked the footage, my stomach turned. At 2:37 a.m., the camera froze for a second. Then the image glitched, and for half a second, a pale face appeared right up against the lens. Then it vanished, and time on the recording stopped. The video picked up again a minute later, as if nothing happened. I called the police. 2 officers showed up. They looked at the footage, then back at me. One of them said, "You said this happened last night? Because there's snow on the ground in this video. It hasn't snowed in weeks." When I checked, she was right. The reflection in the window showed my yard covered in fresh snow. They searched outside. No prints, no evidence. They told me to call if anything else happened. 2 nights later, something else did. I woke up to whispering. It was coming from the kitchen. I couldn't make out the words at first. I thought maybe the TV turned on somehow. But as I got closer, I realized it was coming from the window. The whispering shaped itself into something like my name. I froze. The air was cold and heavy. And then I saw it again. The same pale face behind the glass. This time its lips moved, slowly, silently. I turned on the light, and it was gone. After that, I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I stayed in the living room with the lights on, the TV playing something in the background just to fill the silence. But every night, between 2 and 3 a.m., I'd wake up like something pulled me out of sleep. Always the same time. Always the same feeling, like there was someone outside watching. The recordings from my webcam started getting corrupted. Static, black frames, strange flickers. Once, I thought I saw a white hand pass in front of the camera. The next, it was gone. I told David. He said to leave for a few days. I stayed with him for 2 nights. Nothing happened. But when I came back home, I found footprints outside my kitchen window. Bare feet, human, tall, but wrong. The toes were long and spread apart like claws. The prints led from the woods to my window and stopped. No turn, no return trail. They just stopped. I tried taking photos. My phone kept freezing. Every app glitched out. The camera closed on its own. I sat on my couch that night with the lights on, waiting. Nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was already inside. The next night, I bought a motion-activated security camera and set it up facing the window. I went to bed, waiting for an alert. 2 nights went by. Nothing. But on the 3rd night, at around 3:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I opened the app and froze. The camera showed someone standing outside, staring through the glass. It was me. I was standing there, outside my house, looking in, eyes wide open. The feed cut out seconds later. When I checked the app again, the video was gone, completely deleted. Except I never left my bed that night. When I told David, he didn't believe me at first, but a few nights later, he called me. He said at around 3 in the morning, he heard whispering outside his window. The next morning, he found a faint face print on the glass. That was the last night I stayed at his place. When I came back home, the house felt different, heavier. I could swear I heard breathing that wasn't mine. I set the camera inside the living room this time, pointing toward the hallway. I stayed awake, waiting for something to happen. Around 2:42 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A motion alert. I opened the feed. The face was back. Only this time, it wasn't outside. It was inside the house, standing in the corner, just visible in the shadows, its pale eyes staring directly into the lens. The video cut out with a strange scraping sound like the camera being moved. When I went downstairs, everything looked normal, except for one thing. The camera was lying on the couch, turned toward exactly where I slept. I packed my car that morning and left. But when I got to the end of the street, I saw something in the rearview mirror that made my stomach twist. My reflection smiled at me. I wasn't smiling. I blinked, and it was gone. The next day, my neighbor called, an older lady who lives down the street. She said she saw someone standing inside my house the night before, looking out from the window. I told her that was impossible because I hadn't been home. She said the figure was tall, pale, bald, and when she looked closer, it moved out of sight. That's when I realized, whatever it was, it never left. I decided to try one last time to document it. I set up 3 cameras, one facing the kitchen window, one in the hallway, one in my bedroom. I stayed up to watch. Around 2:30 a.m., the lights started flickering. The power went out for 10 seconds, then came back on. Every window in the house was covered with fresh handprints from the inside. Then came the tapping sound again, slow, deliberate, traveling down the hallway. I looked up, and there it was, the same pale face, half emerging from the shadows at the end of the hall, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. Its eyes never blinked. I backed into my room and slammed the door. Beneath the crack, I saw its fingers slide across the floor, long, reaching, searching. Then everything went silent. When I woke up, it was morning. The cameras were gone. Every file on my laptop wiped clean. Only the faint outline of greasy fingerprints on my bedroom window remained. I moved out that same day. It's been 2 months. New apartment, no woods, no big windows. I finally started sleeping again, until last week. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. The live feed showed my apartment window, and a pale reflection of a face, staring back. Timestamp, 2:37 a.m. The face wasn't outside. It was behind me. You never expect something as normal as a gas station stop to change the way you look at people forever. But the night I met the stranger who already knew my name was the night I realized some encounters are meant to happen. I'm 27 years old, living just outside a small town in northern Pennsylvania. It's quiet here, long highways, pine trees on both sides, and a couple of gas stations that stay open through the night for truckers and people like me heading home from late shifts. I worked at a warehouse about 40 minutes from home, usually leaving around midnight. I'd drive that same empty highway, sometimes stopping for coffee at a little 24-hour gas station near exit 41. It was old, kind of run down, with flickering lights and the smell of gasoline mixed with burnt coffee. Ron, the cashier, was always half asleep behind the counter. It was just a normal stop on the way home, until one Thursday night in October. That night, I pulled in a little before 1 in the morning. The lot was nearly empty except for an old red pickup near the air pump. As I got out to fill up, I noticed a man standing near the entrance doors, just outside the glow of the lights. He wasn't moving, just facing my direction, still as a statue. At first, I thought he was waiting for someone, but the longer I looked, the more I realized he wasn't near any car at all. He was just standing there. He was tall, wearing a green jacket and jeans. Nothing about him screamed danger, but something about the way he stood felt wrong, like he was waiting for something to happen. I tried to ignore it, finished pumping gas, and went inside. Ron gave me a nod as I poured my usual coffee. Everything felt normal again. Then the bell above the door chimed and the man from outside walked in. He didn't look around, didn't grab anything. He just came in and stood behind me at the counter. I paid for my coffee and turned to leave, but before I could take a step, he spoke. "Long drive home tonight, isn't it, Evan?" I froze. He said my name. I didn't know this man. I had never seen him before in my life. I asked him if I knew him somehow. He smiled, but it wasn't a normal smile. His lips moved, but his eyes didn't. He said, "Not yet, but we've met before." Then he walked past me and out the door. I stood there for a few seconds, trying to make sense of what just happened. Ron looked confused and asked if I was okay. I told him the guy somehow knew my name. Ron leaned over to glance outside, but when we looked, the man was gone. The red pickup was gone too. It was like he had disappeared. I drove home that night with my heart pounding. Every pair of headlights behind me made me tense up. When I got home, I told myself maybe I'd misheard him, or maybe he'd seen my name somewhere, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't wasn't random. 2 nights later, I saw him again. It was Saturday. I had gone out with some coworkers for a few drinks, left around midnight, and decided to stop by the same gas station to grab water for the drive home. The lights at the edge of the lot were flickering again, and there was a black SUV parked near the dumpsters. Inside, a young woman was at the counter instead of Ron. She said he'd called out sick. I was halfway down an aisle when I heard the door chime. I looked up, and there he was. Same green jacket, same blank face. He didn't look at anyone, just walked down the aisle across from mine. I tried to act normal, pretending to look at snacks, but I watched him through the reflection in the refrigerator glass. He stopped halfway down the aisle, turned his head toward me in the reflection, and pointed up. I followed his finger and saw the small black dome of a security camera above us. Then he mouthed something I couldn't hear, turned, and left. When I finally walked outside, his SUV was still parked there, driver's door wide open. I felt this wave of dread I can't describe. Then I saw something tucked under my windshield wiper. It was a folded piece of paper. Inside, written in all caps, were 3 words: "Don't trust him." No name, no signature, nothing else. And weirdly, the handwriting didn't look like his. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept replaying it in my head. Don't trust him. Who was him? The stranger? Someone else? The next day, I decided to ask Ron if he knew the guy. When I pulled up to the station that afternoon, there was a sheriff's car out front. My stomach dropped. Inside, Ron was talking to a deputy, looking pale. When the deputy left, Ron told me someone had broken into the back of the Saint or the night before. They didn't steal anything. They just stood in front of the camera for 10 minutes, staring into it. He showed me the security footage, and there he was, the man in the green jacket, standing perfectly still, eyes locked on the lens. But what made my blood run cold was what he was holding, a photograph. It was me, a printed photo from the night he said my name. Ron said they ran the SUV's license plate, but it didn't match anyone local. They said they'd keep an eye out. I didn't wait around. That night, I packed a bag and stayed at my brother's place a few towns over. Around 3 in the morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing, an unknown number. The message said, "You shouldn't have left." Attached to it was a live photo, the kind that moves for a second when you hold it down. It was me, standing at the gas pump 2 weeks ago. Behind me, barely visible in the dark, was the man in the green jacket. I called the police. They took my statement, told me to block the number, and said they'd increase patrols. For a while, things were quiet. No more texts, no more sightings. I started to believe maybe he'd moved on. A few weeks later, I went back to my apartment. Everything seemed normal until last week. I came home late, carrying groceries, and there was something sitting on my welcome mat. Another folded piece of paper, the same handwriting, same creases. Only this time it said, "It's not him you shouldn't trust, it's her." I stood there frozen, trying to understand. Then I heard something from the parking lot below, headlights turning off, a car door closing, and from the darkness, that same calm voice. "Long drive home tonight, isn't it, Evan?" That was 2 nights ago. I haven't gone back to the gas station. I haven't even told my brother, because now I don't know who to trust. Maybe the warning was real. Maybe it wasn't. All I know is, sometimes you think you're just stopping for gas, but something else might already be waiting for you, watching, smiling, and whispering your name long before you ever hear theirs.